something known as tech phobia, where no matter how much you introduce them to the tech stack, they're not able to wrap their mind around it. In the course of 10 weeks, we are teaching people how to build stuff. I know folks who have shifted from code to no code, and this guy is earning millions annually at this point. Even though I knew there is Framer and Webflow because their marketing team has done amazing, and Bubble's marketing 2 to 3 years back, it was not there.
Super awesome having you here, Aditya. How's it going?
Amazing, man. Bangalore weather, as you said, one of the best to have a podcast in. So yeah, just
Easily.
really looking forward to this. Yeah.
Superb. Tell us a bit about yourself and era of no code and all the other interesting things that you're doing.
Yeah, man. So, hey guys, my name is Aditya. I'm the founder of Era of No Code. And it was not supposed to be this way, honestly, because I was never meant to be an educator. But in the last 3 to 4 years, where I have been wearing many hats, I studied development, I went into the design side of things, I went into the advertisement side of things. And deep inside, there was this curiosity that I wanted to build something of my own. And a simple Google search when I was sick on my bed, that simple Google search led me to discover no code. And I started building lots of things, exploring multiple topics, multiple ideas, and eventually got into building communities as well. That's where I realized that all the knowledge that I've acquired in the last 4 to 5 years, it should be brought out, it should be articulated in a very good manner. And that's where era of no code started, the whole journey started, where in the course of 10 weeks, we are teaching people how to build stuff, how to ideate things, but at the same time, we also teach them how to go about doing stuff after building, because building, according to us, is just 40% of the work. Rest of the stuff is related to how you distribute it, how you launch your app, how you market it, what do you do after it, how do you iterate things as and when you get feedback. So era of no code is a complete journey which leads you to build stuff with the design community and development knowledge. So we are going about it. Era is luckily 1 year old now, especially this month itself. And so far we have conducted 3 cohorts. We are going about cohort 4 really, really soon. And amazing people, amazing ideas. So far, I'm loving this journey, man. Yeah.
So interesting because always I ask this, it's a common question, so to say, as in how you got started, but everyone has an answer which is deeply personal. It's generally not something like, oh, I found this opportunity and then I started reading on. It's generally personal. I have a similar story. Like I started design when I was kind of in my lowest point of life. Health was all messed up. And that's when I found design as well. And I got into brand strategy and design and AMEG was created. I fully resonate with what you're saying. So it's interesting. You're betting big on no code for the future, right? Which is something I resonate with. What enabled you to make this decision?
So, one feedback that I continuously keep getting is there are so many folks, almost 90% of the folks whom I talk to, they have ideas, they have lovely ideas, man. But there is something known as tech phobia, where no matter how much you introduce them to the tech stack, how much you introduce them to the side of things where you are actually developing stuff, they're not able to wrap their mind around it, you know. And no code was one place for me as well, because even though I knew how to code, I never really enjoyed coding. Right now, the state is different. I love coding, I love no code as well. That's a different story. But the time when I was designing a lot, I really wanted to bring my ideas to life and I didn't want to code. But I eventually found out the tools like Bubble, automation tools which were around, and realized that hey, if I'm able to design right now, if I put in a little bit more effort, I'm able to put stuff in public, launch it for people, and eventually help them get over the bridges or get over certain use cases that they have, right?
That's
Because
right.
as and when you keep communicating in communities, you realize that people are facing lots of problems. And if you are the person who is actually bringing them solutions, that brings a lot of satisfaction. So that brought me into no code. Just the whole idea of shipping things fast, like I am designing it right now, and in the next 3 days, there is a solution ready for people to execute. So the speed brought me in, the chance to help people in communities, this whole aspect brought me into the no code side of things, because I just wanted some speed and I wanted some good amount of satisfaction after building stuff.
That makes a whole lot of sense. Right. With no code, there's one thing that I would love to know your opinion on this. So I am currently pursuing my BTech in computer science. So it's core technology. But still I see so many people not even aware of no code. Like, and it makes sense in a way because there's not a lot of awareness for a lot of new technologies, so no code shouldn't be much of a difference. But still, in the coding world, people not knowing anything about no code, it kind of feels like, why is it the case? Have you seen, or maybe now I think things are developing much faster for the community, but previously a few years ago, or especially before COVID, do you think there was a similar situation based on awareness?
100%, man, because I was not aware of it, and I was studying computer science. I was doing my BTech in CS, and I was absolutely not sure what all exists in the market.
Mhm.
Because one thing is there that when you are in that 4 year college environment, um, nobody really talks about it too much. Even
True.
in the design side of things, I hardly knew after second year that there is something known as Canva, because Photoshop was taking such a huge chunk of the
Mhm.
market, right? So right now, as you said, the awareness is definitely there. But in my case, even though I knew there is Framer and Webflow, because their marketing team has done amazing to show that no code eventually means design. Because
Mhm.
all this time, even now in the Indian market, if you'll observe, right, if you'll zoom out, when you say no code, the first thing that people think about is Framer, Webflow, and Wix and all those things, maybe WordPress as well. But nobody at all thinks about Zapier or Bubble. Nobody really thinks about that, because these are super high level no code tools. And Bubble's marketing, they have tried doing it. They have really tried doing it in India. It's slowly happening, but 2 to 3 years back, it was not there. Webflow and Framer just captured the Indian market really, really fast, right? So, number one, definitely the marketing efforts from the tools, and number two, the ecosystem that we are brought up in. When
Mhm.
you're doing computer science, everyone is talking about code. Nobody's really talking about
Right.
us in the college environment. But when you go in the startup ecosystem, when you go to the incubation centers, everyone is talking about what tools to use for emailing, what tools to use for CMS and all those stuff. And they even stumble upon no code as well. So no code is definitely gaining traction, but it's slowly, like, we are in a stage where it's gaining traction in the design and automation space. In the full stack space, where we're talking about FlutterFlow and Bubble, there is still time for people to know about it.
Mhm.
um, we are a long way to go. We are still riding the wave. We are not at the peak yet.
Right.
So there are some efforts that needs to be done. Of course, from our end, what we try to do in Era of No Code is we did this No Code India tour, where we went to multiple colleges. We taught them no code for 3 to 4 hours, and people were really shocked. They were like, "Hey, I just created this button. I'm able to click this, and email is able to go to them, and I'm getting a reply as well." And that's so freaking crazy, because they didn't write a single line of code. And now these colleges are just booming into the no code space. So it's all about that spark, that trigger. Somebody needs to do that, and it's our responsibility to spread the word of no code as fast as possible.
Mhm. Absolutely. So can you give us like a quick snapshot of what no code is and how can people get started in it?
Absolutely, man. So no code is like self-explanatory. Without coding, you can go about the three pillars of designing or development. So whenever I think about no code, I think about like three pillars: the
Mhm.
design side of no code, the automation side of no code, and the full stack side of things. Design side of no code is when you are just dragging and dropping buttons, dragging and dropping your image elements and HTML elements onto the screen without writing a single line of code. And the tools like Framer, Webflow, Card, and these things help you to create very beautiful landing pages without much effort, right? Maybe in 15 to 20 minutes, especially now that this is an advent of AI, you can just give a simple prompt that, hey, I want to create a landing page for an e-commerce website, and it should be on the luxurious segment. Just press yes, and your landing page will be created. And then you can just go to the button and change the styles without coding. So that is your design pillar of no code. The next pillar is about your automation. Let's say that I am filling this form. When I fill this form, um, and a row should be created in Google Sheets. Once the row is created, a payment link should go to the other person. Once that person is paid, something should happen. So, like, step by step procedure of like 8 to 9 or 10 steps, or in some cases, so many steps related to what happens if this person is a student, what happens if this person is a teacher. So these block-wise automations, which are being used heavily in the marketing industry right now for the back-end marketing of so many people, I call this the automation pillar of no code, where without writing code, you are able to generate a sequence of things, right?
Makes sense. Yeah.
So this is a sequence, this is a design. Once you build, like match them together, once you mash it, you get
And we
full
can
stack.
use Zapier to do this.
Sorry?
We can use Zapier to do this.
Absolutely, man.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You can use Zapier, you can use Make, you can use N8N. So
Mhm.
all these automation tools are right there for you guys so that you can create the step-by-step procedure for
Right.
your own use case. And finally, you have the full stack no code pillar where tools like Bubble, FlutterFlow, Adalo, and all these things come up. And over here, possibilities are just out of bounds. Like we have created Zomato and Uber using Bubble. So if this is your benchmark, it's only up to you to imagine like what else can you do. You can just, if
Mhm.
you want to create some AI based images, you can just go to Hugging Face, grab your own model, integrate that with Bubble. Or else if you want some simple AI applications, you can just go to OpenAI, grab that API and just integrate that into your Bubble app. The possibilities are just limitless. So no code is a way that you don't really need to code. If you know how to code a little bit, that's good enough. In fact, I suggest people that learn just a small amount of code, a very, very small amount of code, so that your no code journey becomes way more fruitful. But that comes later on, maybe 1.5 years of using no code. You probably want to add like those 3 to 4 lines. Until then, just go ahead, choose one of your pillars or
Mhm.
integrate one pillar with the other pillar and build up your own application.
Right. Especially with the startup ecosystem booming, will you advise like more and more younger founders to just quickly ship their MVPs with no code?
100% man, and no code is highly suggested when you're creating MVPs,
Mhm.
because in the MVP stage your product is of course not mature. Let's
Mhm.
say that I'm shipping feature number 100 people are able to see that, and out of these 100 folks, some folks have suggested me some things that needs to be changed. So I add feature 2, I reiterate feature 1, I add more features and stuff. And when the ability to do that is with the core team, with the 3 to 4 folks within your team in the MVP stage, that becomes easier because the mode of communication is easier. You're able to ship things faster.
Right.
So once your MVP stage has matured, then you can choose to buy more capacity within no code, or you can choose to shift to code. But when it comes to the MVP segment of things, at least for the first 6 to 7 months, you should be in the no code domain. In fact, you'll be shocked that I know folks who have shifted from code to no code, and this guy is earning millions annually at this point, just for this fact that he wanted all the control in his hand. Whenever a feature request comes, he wanted to do it. Whenever a founder wants absolute control and they don't know how to code, no code is the way to go about things. Easier, less debugging, and in the MVP stage, all you need is validation, iteration. Just keep making changes, keep shipping stuff. Once your product matures, after that it's a different story. But until then, no code is the way to go.
That makes total sense. Yes. Will you say that, especially with things like Bubble and with AI coming in, how do you see no code developing in the future? How do you see the future of it is going to happen?
I see the moment AI came forward, all these advents, all the new features were pushed
Mhm.
in apps like Type Dream, in apps like Framer AI, and all those things. The first thing that I saw is that people are getting a boilerplate to start from. Like you don't have to start by imagining, putting it all on paper and then executing it.
Right.
Somebody's doing the major part of imagination for you, right?
Mhm.
So I see AI as the starter boilerplate where it gives you all the basic stuff that you don't need to break your head on, like a simple sign up feature, a simple feature to generate a list or to call a simple API call. For these things, you don't need AI. For the complex part where you will be actually using your brain, that's where you will come forward. You will start creating your own workflows, and AI just gives you that small push. Let's say that initially, if I was spending 3 to 4 hours to just create the simple design, making it responsive, and creating the sign up forms, I don't need to do that anymore. I'm saving 3 hours just to focus on things that I need to do.
Right.
And it
Makes
saves me
sense.
time, it helps me launch stuff faster. So AI is just going to be your absolute companion with no code. In fact, AI no code gives people a base to use AI skills for themselves. gives them an easy base without going ahead with the coding direction. So since AI is coming into no code, just use it as your companion, make stuff faster, make those components which are easier to execute, and then just break your head about what logic you need to apply. Saves you tons and tons of time. And of course, use it for inspiration in the design space as well.
Makes sense. I have I have always wanted to ask these two specific questions, and I've asked them to like other founders as well who are in the no code space. I would love to know your opinion on this. The first question is regarding scalability. This is a critique that was attached to the no code community for a long time, right?
Yeah,
That building scalable products was probably difficult. How do you now react to that?
I'll just give you one example. We have created an application for the educational system in North America, which handles almost 3 to 4 lakh students every day, and lots of teachers, the organizations, donators, all those things. 3 to 4 lakh students per day, almost tons of application forms going from here to there, tons of money being exchanged from one user to another, and no code is working absolutely fine. So if on that scale we are talking about no code and that is working really well, um, 95% of the startups come under this,
True.
just below this, because um, when you talk about scalability, it's more about how you use no code. Let's talk
Hmm.
about this, right? So since it is no code, there are 10 to 12 ways of doing a single thing. You can do it in the worst way possible, you can do it in the best way possible. So as a developer, it's your story, it's your way of putting in the most efficient workflow possible in front of your user. If that workflow is taking 2 seconds to run, that is bad. If that workflow is taking 0.2 seconds to run, that is amazing. So you need to keep these things in mind. The tools have given you all the ability, all um, the complete ecosystem to do stuff. Now it's your responsibility to make it scalable. Now what we do is, like, if there is a very large scale application like this, we tend to shift to a faster database like Xano or something, instead of just creating everything on Bubble.
Mhm.
What we are doing is we are using one thing just for the front end, and we are using a very fast database.
Mhm.
So retrieval of data from this database becomes super super easy, super fast, and that leads to higher scalability as well. And of course, that's what I'm trying to say. In fact, I have heard from so many founders who have not even started creating their MVPs talk about, hey, Adi, like, we want to shift to no, we want to do it in no code, but do you think it is scalable? And after 1 month, they have like 10 users. For 10 users, of course, it is scalable. And
For
even for
10
100,
users, Google Forms is scalable.
of course, man. So
Right.
that's the story. I mean, scalability is something that you need to talk about a little bit later in your journey. At least for the first 500 to 1000 users, don't even worry about it. And if at all your app is working really fine, then of course I'm assuming that if your app is working fine, you're also getting some good amount of revenue. So that means you're also able to stack up on your capacity. That means you can rely on no code. But if your app is not working fine and you're sticking to the free plans and everything, giving freebies for the whole year and not earning, and then buying new capacity is being a burden for you, or spending those $25 is being a burden for you, then I think that idea is bad, not the app. So,
Right.
in my opinion, no code is absolutely scalable. That is the bottom line. And number two, it depends on the developer, on
Mhm.
how efficiently they are making the workflows. Otherwise, you have all the ingredients, go ahead and make it. Scalability should not be an issue. Do not think too much about scalability in the beginning stage, because you keep thinking about it and you keep delaying your app launch for 3 to 4 months, and you have like zero things in front of you. At least create the most minimum item possible. Push it in public. Yeah.
I totally resonate with that. There was the founder I was talking about. He was giving a similar example of a no-code app used by 10 million users monthly,
Yep.
and that was perfectly fine. It was revenue generating. Everything was doing super smooth.
Yep.
Makes sense. That makes the second allegation, something, or the second question, so to say, is: will no-code ever become a mainstream development approach? Not for deep feature engineering, of course, but for the majority of apps, what you require, no code can handle that. So, do you think it will become the mainstream approach in some time, some years?
So I'll tell you what's happening inside the cohort right now.
Mhm.
three batches of the cohort, and all these folks there are folks from the design industry, from the product design, product management industry, from the development industry as well. Some are marketers. So all these folks, they have tried code, they have tried no code, everything is done. But when it comes to the speed of launches, a person who is generating ideas every single day, like maybe every single day he's generating 2 to 3 ideas or such, he would want to use no code to implement it and push it in the market. A person who is going deep down into a single idea, like doubling down on it, creating stuff for 5 months, 6 months, talking about efficiency and all those things, he will start with no code, and eventually he will see that if it is working out, I should shift to a different stack, right?
Mhm.
So this is the mentality right now. This is the mentality right now where I can assure you all the folks from the product design industry, and which also captures the largest chunk of the Indian market at this point, and it's still booming. These
Right.
folks are hell bound into no code. They are not going to shift to the coding segment of stuff, especially with tools like FlutterFlow, where it is generating the code as well for you. You do it in no code, it generates the code, and it becomes easier for the development side of things.
Mhm.
So it is already becoming the mainstream kind of aspect. It's just going to grow. No code is just going to grow powerful with the advent of AI as well. And people who are generating ideas in the speed of light, they are going to use it no matter what. That is going to be the case. And also see the whole statistics, right? 99% of the people do not know how to code.
True.
They do not know how to code. So that doubles down on this theory that no code is becoming mainstream. But let's talk about one more side of things, right? A person who is doing no code for 1 or 2 years and he wants to shift to code, that also becomes easier because now he understands the product mindset a lot. Now he understands what goes behind generating this list or creating or calling this API call. So getting into code also becomes easier. So it's like either you get directly into no code and stick to it, or you directly
Mhm.
get into no code and do coding as well, while like shifting between these two, or you're hellbound into coding. But the major sector is
Mhm.
no code will be there. No
Mhm.
code will be there. It's going to be the mainstream either to get into code or just to stick to it.
Mhm. Makes sense.
Mainstream, maybe we have to see about it. With the
Right.
advent of AI, definitely has higher chances right now. But at the same time, coding as well has become easier.
That's
You
true.
have a co-pilot next to you, and honestly speaking, all this time, people are hesitant to code because sometimes they're not able to um, remember the whole syntax, the whole structure of the code. And to do these folks, I have this simple message that you don't really need to do or keep these things in mind. The rote learning part was there in exams and interviews and all those
Right.
things. But if you're not even worried about it, just go ahead and shamelessly check out the code on Google and GPT, and that's how it should be done.
Mhm.
Things should be easier for you rather than you remembering or creating a
Right.
memory management base.
Ultimately, it's about building products. So you just do it
Exactly.
the way it has to be done.
100% man. So right now what we are doing is in the cohort, and what I'm doing personally as well is, if I have an idea, I quickly go ahead and create it on Bubble. And if I have some complex backend, I just write the code on Python, a super complex backend. And like you don't even need to do that. I could do it on Bubble as well, but I just choose to code sometimes just for the fun of it. But this is just an example of the combination of these two. If I have a super complex backend, I just write it down on Python, connect it with Bubble, and that saves me so much time to create my front end.
Mhm.
But no code is there as a base. For me, it is a mainstream at this point.
That's a super comprehensive answer. Awesome. I would love to know your approach of communities and what brought you to that, communities and cohorts.
Yeah, man. So communities was, I was never really into it. But as you mentioned, I think we mentioned in the starting of the podcast as well, that there is always this real story that brings
Mhm.
you into an impactful journey, right? So for me
Right.
also that was the case. Like I had a ankle surgery and I was on bed for 6 months. That's when I discovered Bubble as well. But more than Bubble, I met this person named Saurav Arya. This guy is a digital nomad and he has traveled so many countries so far. And he used to run this campaign called Small World.
Mhm.
And if you're in Bangalore, you might know about Small World, but yeah, just check it out though. So what Small World used to do is they used to run these weekly segments where they would talk to you about a different country and their culture by bringing 10 or 12 people together in a certain location. That's how they grew. And Saurav eventually started a bootcamp known as the Digital Nomads Bootcamp. And I was a part of it. And for 10 days, I was just lying on my bed, but I had something to do, at least something to look forward to every single evening. And that's where I met like 15 to 20 other folks. And we bonded up really well. I realized that even though I'm alone at home, the journey is not really lonesome. I'm able to meet some folks, I'm able to share my experiences with them. And immediately, Saurav launched another bootcamp known as the No Code Bootcamp, where he taught about the basics of no code for 7 to 8 days. And all the folks from the Digital Nomad Bootcamp joined in there as well. He created a small community. I was also called for as the bubble expert in the next bootcamp that he had conducted. And while I was learning bubble, I realized that when you're doing something with a community, that really brings out the whole impact, and at least you have something to show to other people as well, right? So I created this simple community just to learn bubble. A simple community where I was learning bubble and I could learn bubble with 20 to 30 other folks as well. Eventually, this community right now is of 500 plus people. I never really imagined how whether this will even shape in this manner, but it did, and I'm super grateful for it. Every day, people are discussing. Every day, people are talking about how they can be helped, what they can do to help other people, and so on. They're sharing about events and stuff going around India and all those things. So that was my first instance with the communities. Eventually, I created two more communities, one related to freelancing and another one related to trekking in Bangalore. All of these are doing really well. So community building has been something which I learned over time by building communities, by making mistakes. There is just no other way. I never read a single book about community building. It's all about the theory and the people that you are able to um, cater to. But within the community, you find many problems. One major problem is the right way to learn certain thing, and that's how the cohort journey also began. Where from the community, we were finding problems every day. We see that we can do this for the community, we can do that for the community, and one of the solution is era of no code, where you teach people how to go about the design, launch, and the build side of things. And yeah, that's how it eventually came from the community side of things itself.
Makes sense. It was a pretty organic journey, so to say, with impact in your mind.
100%
Makes
months.
sense. I was a part of No Code 30. It was
Yep.
superb. It was superbly information filled, and I love that journey. How are you planning to take the cohorts to the next level now? What are your ambitions with it?
So many things, man. So no code cohort 4 is going to start soon, maybe October and November. And so era of no code runs currently it runs two things. We have another thing in mind. One is your era of no code cohort, which is a 10-week program. No code 30 is something that we did for 30 days, but we are going to do it again in September or October. Not for 30 days, but in a shorter time span with a lot more value. And there's one more thing which is coming up where we are planning to bring in X number of designers and X number of developers together, and they will be launching 20, like let's say 10 developers and 10 designers. And within this season of 2 months, we'll be teaching them how to launch their applications, how to go about building stuff, how to go about the right kind of designs. And this whole thing is going to be absolutely free because we want to choose one of the best folks in the industry on this side and on that side, and we want to see that if you actually bring or blend them together, what kind of products you are able to put forward. We are going to even help them launch it, fund it, and see how it is performing in the market. And this is something that era really wanted to do for a long time, because ultimate goal of era is to ship products which are impactful to the community side of things. So I want to see how this shapes.
Doing it for
um,
free is so amazing, right?
it's going to be free for sure, because
Hmm.
um, I feel that knowledge at this point, we have done enough to give knowledge to folks in terms of the cohort and in terms of the 30 days thing as well. Now it's time to see, using this knowledge, what people are able to create. So of course, like once they build something, we'll be there with them in the journey. We want to see how these products help, because ultimately these products are going to be from Era Labs as well. It's going to be something that we have created, we have ideated, help them create, right? So we are going to be there in this journey. So yeah, absolutely free. It's going to be, it's fun. It's a fun thing for me and Sarthak to do. So yeah, man, not really worried about the monetization side of things. Let's see about
Awesome.
how the community benefits from this whole venture.
Mhm. Towards the end, if possible, I would love to get some inputs on this as well, personally as well, with AMEG. It's something that we are looking forward to as well, the community aspect of things, the cohort aspect of things. So I would love to pick your brains on the business side of Era of No Code. How are you doing that? Like, what's the monetization strategy like generally?
100%, man. So right now, our major monetization is from the 10-week cohort,
Mhm.
where we are just focusing on 20 to 30 people per cohort. We are teaching them for 10 weeks. So that is the monetization
Hmm.
angle from
It's
the.
super concise.
Yeah, man. We don't want to bring in a larger bunch, because one USP of the cohort is we are connecting folks to multiple founders so that they can
Mhm.
keep learning stuff. They are creating real life experiences, real life scenarios from what they are building. And second thing is, like, we are in constant one-on-one touch with them. Because as I mentioned, the cohort is not like you come in and you have this course material, all these live sessions, and you just go about that and ask questions. We believe that every single person has their personal journey, their personal way of learning things, their personal way of grasping stuff. So we get on multiple one-on-one calls. A person who wants to launch their own venture, maybe wants to launch a 15-day program of something of their own related to Figma or Framer, we help them do that. We help them connect to multiple platforms and communities as well. So a lot of one-on-one things are going on within the cohort in 10 weeks. And talking to 100 people in 10 weeks will be super impossible for me. So 20 to 25 folks is something that I really enjoy conducting cohorts with, because I know them in and out. So that one side of the business is definitely the cohort angle. Another one is all the projects that we are getting from LinkedIn and all those things. So what we do is, like, we create a team around them, around from the cohort or from my communities. We create a team, and we help them get into these projects. That is another monetization angle. We are looking into two or three more definitely for now. One will be related to your the more apps that we launch coming from Era Labs. We'll be looking in the equity sector of things and so on. And definitely, we are launching another product related to connecting communities to platforms, which will be in a monetization scale for from the platforms. So there are two or three things, but yeah, Era started last year and it is my pet project. Currently, it is becoming like really good. So yeah, I'm not really thinking too much in the monetization side of it right now, but definitely it's exciting to think about it. I'll say,
It is
like,
lots of interesting prospects.
100%, because since I'm not thinking too much about the monetary direction of it, I'm able to go really crazy about the ideas and the things that I'm able to execute that people
Right.
are not even thinking in the market. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's fun, man. I mean, I'm loving this journey so far.
It's awesome. Thank you for your time, man. This was super comprehensive. Love the conversation. And all the best for Era of No Code and all the other amazing things. I'm looking forward to joining the trekking community. That's on my list. So I'll surely do that.
Absolutely, man. Come forward, and it was so nice talking to you. By the way, amazing headphones, man. Love that blue color.
Thanks.
But yeah, really great questions. I hope people who are listening to this are able to get some insights. And if any
Yes,
questions, please feel free to reach out to me and Ratin.
of course.
Happy to help you guys in your no code journey as well.
Awesome. All links in description. See you.
Take care.
Flow. A series with Brad.